No, now you do the move I want. No. No, 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 no. Ow. Oh, my spine.
For victory. Never surrender.
Oh, I missed. No, no. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, lock and load. Oh, don't you feel all kinds of awesome right now, huh?
Damn, that was a good match, man. Wouldn't it be cool if Captain America actually fought Iron Man in the comics, though?
They did.
What are you talking about?
It was a few years ago in a massive crossover event comic called Civil War. A bunch of young, dumb superheroes were filming a reality show, and they caused an explosion that destroyed an entire suburban neighborhood. So Congress passed legislation called the Superhuman Registration Act that required all superheroes and superhumans to register with the government. And when they did that, they got paid by the government. They were trained by the government for all of their work. But in order to do that, they had to divulge their secret identities and be regulated by the government. Iron Man was all for it, but Cap opposed it because he thought that it was an invasion of privacy and would let the government decide who the supervillains were. So he went rogue.
Wow, that's pretty intense, man.
It was. It's also noteworthy for being the story where Spider-Man goes public with his secret identity, but then that got retconned away in one of the stupidest stories ever in a comic book. But I'm gonna shut up before I start ranting.
Yeah, let's just have another rematch.
Alright.
Wouldn't it be awesome if Marvel actually decided to make a movie out of that?
Out of Civil War? Yeah, I think it probably would.
Wonder what it would be like. Batman v Superman? That movie can kiss my fucking brown ass! I want my money back!
Well, you know, Captain America Civil War is going to be out soon. Hey, it looks like it'll be a lot like Batman v Superman.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm so fucking pissed off, I'm just gonna...
That's how it starts. The fever, the rage,
Fucking Batman. No.
the feeling of powerlessness.
You're fucking Captain America.
Don't worry, son. It's gonna be okay.
Shouldn't you be Haley? Oh, a dream within a dream. Lame.
Hey, good afternoon.
How long was I out?
6 weeks.
What the hell?
Yeah, Batman v Superman must have broke you bad.
Bet your ass it did.
Hey, I'm gonna go see Captain America Civil War. You wanna come with me, then review it for my YouTube show?
Hell yeah, I'm down.
Wow, you're actually excited to see this now. What changed?
Well, let's say I heard from a good friend that it's gonna be good.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to But I Digress, and I am Nathan Marchand, and here with me again today is Sergio Garza. when we're here to review yet another movie. This week it is Captain America: Civil War. So, I see you have recovered well since seeing Batman v Superman.
Yeah, doing better.
We're still on this crazy couch. We figured out when we looked at the other video that Sergio's couch has this uncanny ability of making skinny people look fat and fat people look fatter.
It's like 7 years old and everybody's plowed their ass on it, so...
Anyway, back on topic for the movie. We saw this, actually it was about a week and a half ago now. It's taken us a little bit of time to get the video put together.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we'll start with general impressions. Did you like this?
It was fantastic. Right off the get-go, it throws you right into the action from start to finish. Very solid movie. Really good character development. Did a really good job introducing new characters, and the writing was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Pretty good.
I would have to agree with you there. So anyway, I think a good place to start then is since you mentioned new characters, and this has a large cast. I mean, this is bigger than any of the Avengers movies. I think there's 12 superheroes total, and that's just superheroes.
Not really sure how many, but it does have a large...
It's at least, I think, 12 or 14, because each side has an equal number, I think.
Yeah.
Team Iron Man and Team Captain America. And like I said, it's a huge cast. It's bigger than any of the Avengers movies. The story is not as huge. It's not something where the fate of the world is at stake.
Right.
It's smaller stakes, but the cast is gigantic. We have Cap, obviously. We have Scarlet Witch, Black Panther, Vision, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, new character. I'm trying to think who else.
Falcon,
Rhodey, a War Machine.
I called him
Black Widow.
I called him Brody. I don't even know his name.
Brody. You've been playing Broforce?
Yeah.
Brody and Hawkeye. Winter Soldier. And that's just all the superhero characters.
Did you mention Ant-Man?
Yes.
Okay.
That's just all the superhero characters. So there's 12. But then you have people like General Thunderbolt Ross makes an appearance for the first time since the Incredible Hulk. And
out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's been promoted. He's the Secretary of State now. He's not just a general. And the actual, if you want to call him this, the actual villain of the piece, which is Zemo. He's not a Baron, but it's Zemo. He's in it. They introduced Everett Ross, who's also a comic book character. He's the psychologist who's in the compound that they go to, who tries to psychoanalyze Bucky. I think that's just about everybody. Oh, and Agent 13.
Yeah.
Who's now been officially revealed to be Sharon Carter. So if you know your comics, you know exactly who Sharon Carter is.
Or have you watched the show, I guess?
No, she's not on the show.
Okay. I
not.
don't watch the show.
She was in Winter Soldier, and she's in this, and that's been it.
I figured she was an Agent Carter or something.
No, because she's Peggy's niece, which doesn't make any sense.
At least it was weird. It was really weird because they have a whole scene where they hug and they spoilers. They hug and they kiss.
Oh, her and Cap?
What are you doing, Cap? You're like 80 years old. What are you doing? This is fucking weird.
And it's your almost girlfriend's niece, which just makes it even stranger. But I love the look on Bucky and Falcon's faces when that was going on. They're like, yeah. Go Steve.
I mean, it still has those kind of that Avengers feel where they'll be doing something or fighting and then they crack a joke every now and then.
Yeah, it's not as wisecracky as an Avengers movie, at least in a Joss Whedon Avengers movie, or even Guardians of the Galaxy for that matter. It does take itself more seriously, and I would say this is probably the darkest MCU movie that's been produced yet.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to focus more on the new characters.
Let's do that. Black Panther and Spider-Man.
Amazing. Everybody keeps talking about Spider-Man and how awesome he was, and I'm like, did you guys see Black Panther? Because he kicked more ass than he did. He was way more badass.
Well, Black Panther had a bigger role in this movie. Spider-Man's role in this was to, be the new kid who gets recruited by Tony to join his side.
A cameo.
Pretty much. It's not really a cameo because he's in most of the second act. He's in most of the middle of the movie. But Black Panther plays a role throughout the entire thing.
I'm just impressed that they actually had time to write the character into the movie and then record and do all that, you know.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, by the time that Sony actually gave them the rights, you know, I figured that they'd be done with the movie by then, but I guess not.
What did you think of Tom Holland as Spider-Man?
I think he was alright. A lot of people, there's not a lot of people, but some people didn't like him because they say he was too young. But you guys...
I'm okay with a young Spider-Man. He started being Spider-Man when he was like 15, 16 years old in the
Yeah,
comics.
well, by the time that Infinity Gauntlet gets around, he's not going to be young anymore. And we're going to
Well,
see...
the actor is 18, I believe.
Actually, I think he's 16.
Is he? He's very young. He's close to the age of the character he's playing, unlike Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, who were in their
40 years old.
they were in their 20s. when
Toby
that was
face.
Yeah, they were in their 20s.
Remember that Toby face?
Yeah. Yeah. But I much enjoyed Tom Holland. I thought he really got Peter Parker down. He looked great as Spider-Man in that costume. He looked how Spider-Man should look. You know,
those eyes.
he's thin, he's fit, he's lanky.
And really mouthy.
Yes, that was actually one of the best parts of the whole thing. Is he turns into a fanboy. He is us. You know, when he's fighting these other superheroes, he's amazing. He's amazed at them. You know, he's he sees Winter Soldier. He's like, you have a bionic arm, dude. That's awesome.
He hasn't really seen any other quote unquote Inhumans or mutants or superheroes.
No, he's just been hanging out in his neighborhood.
So he doesn't know about this kind of stuff.
But Hot Aunt May.
That was weird.
Charlize is what is it? What is her name?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It's a quasi-famous actress. Her name is escaping me now. But
I'm used to
but we have a Hot Aunt May now. That is really weird for me.
I'm used to her being like 60 or 70, always like that,
being a grandmother.
like the.
I suppose it's
cheery old lady that cooks cooks meals for him and bakes cookies for him.
Yeah, I suppose it makes more sense this way that she's younger.
We'll probably see her get old too as it goes. Like
Why not?
I'm just
Why
saying.
not? So Black Panther, you were wanting to just gush over Black Panther.
Yeah, man, he was. In my opinion, he stole the show. He introduced Black Panther. We see Wakanda, the suit, man. It looks beautiful. It looks amazing. That mask. I wish they would have gave him a POV shot, like kind of Iron Man, when you can see inside Iron Man's suit and you can see the technology, the way he views things.
I have a feeling his suit is more low tech. I don't think there's a bunch of stuff in there with a HUD or anything. I think it's just a helmet.
In my opinion, I think he's on par with Stark's technology. I heard people complaining about the suit. They said that it should have been just a regular suit, and he's just so fast he can avoid bullets, but...
No, it's not. It's vibranium. The bullets just fly off. It's made of the same stuff as Cap's shield.
I'm just saying that people were complaining about that. They wanted a regular suit, not made of vibranium, and then he's
Come on, it makes sense because vibranium comes from Wakanda. So, but what about the story in this? Because this is also, it's a fairly involved story. It's a long story. It's 2.5 hours. It's as long as an Avengers movie.
There's 3 stories going on?
More or less, because you have all the stuff going on with the Sokovia Accords, which are this movie's equivalent of the Superhuman Registration Act.
Right.
So that's the main thrust. That's the driving force behind this whole thing, because of all the collateral damage being caused by the superheroes. The UN is enacting what they're calling the Sokovian Accords, that more or less add a layer of bureaucracy that the Avengers have to go through, a lot of it, if they're going to go do anything. They have to be approved before they do it, because they can't just be a private organization anymore. Iron Man is all for it, Cap is not. Splits the superhero community in half.
Right.
But then you also have stuff going on because Cap is uncovering things about Bucky when he was the Winter Soldier, and that ties into what's going on with the Sokovian Accords. And then you also have the villain, the actual villain. It's not Tony. Tony is not the villain.
What's his name again?
Zemo?
Zemo.
Yeah. And no burlap sack for a mask.
It's interesting though, because as a villain he did a great job, but he didn't do much. Everything kind of planned out for him.
Well, he planned out everything. He was quite the mastermind. But so he's got stuff going on. And all of these things all weave in together, especially in the last act of the movie, where everything just comes to a head. And really, the ending, we're not giving spoilers, but the ending is quite surprising, really. You know, for an MCU movie.
There's a lot of twists in this movie. There's a lot of Shyamalan twists.
Yeah, the sort of things that you expect to happen, it even seems like they're setting up for it to happen, ends up not happening. And the movie's better for that.
It doesn't end well. It doesn't end with everybody being pals again and, hey,
No.
it's all good now, Cap. No. So, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and it moves along at a very good pace. It doesn't feel overstuffed. It would have just felt like it was too much. But I don't feel like it got to that point. It felt focused. The thing that I was most interested in was going to be how they handle the themes of this, because the Civil War comics deal with some pretty heavy material.
Yeah, it's everybody's involved in the comic. I mean, everybody.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was hoping about with Batman v Superman was that I thought it had the potential to be very thematically deep. But I feel like, honestly, you know, for most of you this won't be a surprise, but for some of you out there, you raging DC fanboys, you're going to hate me for saying this because I know you're out there. Civil War is the better movie. Civil War is what Batman v Superman wanted to be, and especially when it comes
that's
to...
pretty obvious.
Yeah, especially when it comes to thematic stuff. Because if you look at the questions that they're asking in this, and the comic did the same thing, it's making you ask a lot of questions about individual rights, about when it's right for somebody to intervene, should there be bureaucracy? The sorts of questions that they're asking in this. And I'm going to be honest with you right now, I'm Team Cap. I was Team Cap when I read the comic, and I'm Team Cap in this, because his arguments make sense to me.
I was kind of in Tony's side for a while, especially after you find out what happened later on.
Yeah, but that's more on the personal side of the story.
Yeah,
You know,
it was.
which I can understand that. Should superheroes be regulated by the government? Should they, should the Avengers be allowed to go where they need to go when they need to go?
Well, I mean, that's pretty obvious. If you get like, I don't know, like Thanos comes down to Earth and starts fucking shit up, and the government's gonna tell him, well, he can't do anything.
Yeah, well, the reason they brought this all up is because of the collateral damage that had been caused, you know, and they show scenes from 3 previous movies, you know, the first two, the 2 Avengers and Winter Soldier, and they're saying that, you know, there's all this, and there's some stuff at the beginning of the movie that they do. Yeah, I forgot, that's another character, Crossbones. Crossbones is in this. He's in it for about 15 minutes, but then he's there.
Yeah, it's like a 20-second fight scene.
Yeah. So they're saying that it's the superheroes while all this collateral damage has happened. But at the same time, you're looking at it thinking, yeah, it's a consequence of war, but most of that stuff was happening because of the bad guys. The Battle of New York happened, there's untold destruction in New York because it was an alien invasion. It wasn't just the superheroes.
And that's the thing, like, the way they handled it, people are gonna end up dying. That's the sad part. Something huge like an alien invasion happens and they're destroying buildings, they're collapsing, you know, stuff. People are running. I mean, stuff like that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We don't see it very often, but if you really pay close attention, you know, it does unfortunately happen, and people die.
But what really makes the movie work is that it doesn't really pick a side. It presents it straight down the middle and leaves it up to individual viewers to decide who's in the right.
You know, Batman v Superman did, you know, the opening scene very similar to this, but
I might argue that might be the one part that Batman v Superman did better, was presenting that.
I wouldn't even say better, I just say on level. Because in my opinion, like showing clips from Avengers and Winter Soldier and all that stuff, they kind of affected me more than the scenes from Batman v Superman where, I don't know, that one worker that he has in the building, Master Wayne, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
I'm in the building. Why the hell would he stay there? Get out of there, you idiot!
Yeah.
Get out of the building!
Yeah, I see what you mean by that.
But it was all...
The two very similar movies in a lot of ways. We could probably spend an entire video comparing the two, but we're not going to do that. That'd be a whole other thing.
And the thing is, like, yeah, they introduced new characters, but they actually developed the characters a little bit and gave them lines, and they didn't. I mean, they weren't just there like Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman was like, here I go again. Okay. Oh, Doomsday, alright. It's like, come on, man. Like, when they introduce Black Panther, they introduce him. You know right off the bat who he's gonna be. They give him good lines. They kind of develop the character a little
You
bit.
more or less get Black Panther's origin in this movie. I don't know what they're gonna. I mean, they've got it all out of the way, so they can just tell a story in his solo movie when it comes out next year.
Just a little snippet of it, you know. Same with Spider-Man when Spider-Man: Homecoming comes out, but you know, they were still written well in there. It wasn't like, well, here's Wonder Woman. Oh, you want Justice League? Here's like 5-second clips of them.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was kind of a weird thing about that. One last thing I do want to cover in this, because this is always bound to happen, and that is, how does this movie compare to the comics?
Remember back when we heard that they were going to make this into a movie, and then we heard that Spider-Man was going to be in the movie, and everybody was wondering if they were going to reveal who Peter Parker was in the movie.
And I heard some very interesting fan theories about
Everybody
how they would
was
do that.
freaking out over it, and they didn't even touch that situation, which I'm kind of glad.
Well, the thing is that they have to they can take the comics and they have to make it, as you do with any adaptation, it has to fit within the parameters of whatever media you're putting it into. This is a movie, not a comic. And the other thing is, the MCU is not set up the same as the Marvel comic book universe.
Right.
So they have to shift things around to make it work within that.
We also thought maybe Daredevil or Punisher and a bunch of these show characters
The
might show
Netflix
up.
characters?
Yeah.
No, they don't.
They didn't, but maybe they might in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, there's some stuff that hints at Civil War related material in the television shows, but nothing very direct. I feel like with the movie, what they've more or less done is they've taken the concepts of Civil War, the core concepts, that being, government control of superheroes, the superhero community getting split in half, Tony and Steve being at odds with each other and leading the respective sides. All of that from the comics is in this movie. There's even a wonderful, and this is something I wish they would do more often, there's this wonderful scene toward the end where they replicate the cover of Civil War #7. It was that iconic cover, and they recreated it briefly there on the screen for you, and I thought that was a great thing for Marvel to throw in.
Another thing is, in my opinion, they didn't make Tony Stark that much of an asshole like they did in the comic. Because in the comic, you fucking hate him. He is the villain.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I feel like the comic did the same thing. It presented it down the middle.
I'm talking about the comic book. The comic book made him look like a straight up bad guy, an asshole. And the movie, it wasn't that bad.
I came to see Tony as the villain, but that was because I was a Team Cap guy. But I think the comic's intention was to not paint either side as being in the right or in the wrong, because they both have arguments that make sense and they both make mistakes.
The other thing is, I don't know if they were going to have the Thor robot or the
cyber clone.
Cyber clone, which I was like, are they even going to fucking touch that?
No, because Thor's not in this at all, which is good. Which is very good. But it's hard for me to say which one, if the movie or the comic is better.
In my opinion, they're two completely different things, but they're both pretty solid. The comic book has all its respective things that go for it. It is a good book. Obviously, it's going to be better than the movie, but then the movie is his own thing. And
yeah, except I would say this is probably Marvel's best movie yet.
It is.
Civil War is very good, and
I'm just
saying, it has, like I said, it's bold in a lot of ways for an MCU movie.
I'm just saying, compared to the comic book, a lot.
Yeah.
You're not going to get panel by panel action in a movie. You can't have that. It's never going to happen.
Not unless you're Zack Snyder making Watchmen.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I mean,
That's like your new favorite curse word now? Zack Snyder.
no, I really just fucking want him to go away and let other people do stuff with DC.
Yeah, anyway, let's try to get away from that.
It's never gonna be panel by panel. It's just not the way it works. There's some things that are gonna work on screen, others that aren't.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you have to stay in budget.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been great to see the X-Men and Fantastic Four, but we all know that the fucking rights issues are all
Yeah.
over the fucking place, and that's not able to happen.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun movie, but it's only it uses the humor to kind of give you a bit of a release. Otherwise, it plays it very straight. Takes itself very
I
seriously.
give Marvel credit because even though they don't have all their characters, the ones that they do, it might not be a big cast. Like when they all have that fight scene,
Which was spectacular.
it was amazing. But I was thinking the whole time in the back of my head, wow, they did this with only the characters that.
Really, well, it's more or less their
use
B-list characters,
what they're-
and now they're all rock stars.
Yeah, what they're able to do with these characters.
And how potent was that climax, though? Because you had the fight at the airport, which felt like an Avengers scene. It was because it was fairly big, lots of characters and all that. And then the actual climax of the movie is a very small fight, but it is emotionally potent.
Right.
I mean, I dare say it probably had more emotional potency in it than the climax of Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman, it tried, it wanted to, but it just wasn't quite there.
In my opinion, like the whole fight scene in Batman v Superman could have been avoided with one fucking. Our moms, they're the same name. Stop, please. He's got my mom.
Yeah.
Right there. It could have stopped the whole fucking fight.
You can't do that. Wouldn't have worked in this movie.
But
It wouldn't have worked in this movie.
let's talk about the things that we didn't like. There's very brief. I don't have a giant complaint list, but there's a couple things that were like, what the fuck? So you can go ahead.
I can't really think of too many things that I didn't like about the movie. It's mostly, I'd have to comb through it, to really, get at them. I'd have to nitpick. I was just extremely happy. The only thing that I really hold against it, and this is sort of spoilerish, is I will give Batman v Superman credit for one thing. It takes a lot of risks.
Ooh, risky.
And it takes a lot of risks. They don't most of them don't necessarily pan out, because it gets to the point where Batman v Superman feels almost like a Elseworld story than an actual adaptation. But so I'll give them credit for that. As bold as Civil War is, it doesn't take quite as many risks. And one of the things that I wish they had done is had the guts to kill off a major character.
Right.
Which they don't really do in this, even though people die in the comic. I'll give them credit for that, because the reason I wish they had done it is that way Marvel really could have said, DC, what the heck are you doing? We earned this. We earned the right to kill off a character.
Well, I mean, no spoilers, but they're probably gonna kill a lot of characters in Infinity Gauntlet whenever that fucking comes around.
2 years from now.
The only well, not really problems, but I was like, what the fuck moments in the movie was one of the early scenes with Tony Stark when he was younger, and they did like the CGI face.
Yeah, kind of like what they did with Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy.
I was like, what the fuck? Is this Ferris Bueller?
Except I thought that the CGI work on that was incredibly well
It
done.
looked good, but it was creepy as fuck.
It's that uncanny valley stuff there, man.
It was really weird because you just see his face, and he's supposed to be like the 16, 17-year-old. And I was like, okay, is Tony filming a commercial here, or what the hell's going on?
That was another couple of characters they threw in there, is we got to see Tony's parents. We finally get to see his mom in the movie.
For a brief second.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty weird because I thought I thought they were gonna mess with us and say that maybe he was like filming Ferris Bueller with his face on it or something stupid like that.
Which would have been really weird because we'd already had the giant Ferris Bueller reference in Deadpool.
But
Holy Holy jump cut, Batman! Yeah, this video has been incredibly difficult to get finished. Seems like anything and everything has been getting in the way of us completing it. The reason why you are now seeing this sudden change is because, for whatever reason, the camera didn't record the last few minutes of when we recorded our review. So, we're going to re-record it as best as we can remember. So, but right now all we're going to do is give you our final thoughts and our personal ratings for Captain America Civil War. Go to it, Serge.
9 out of 5. Actually, I'm sorry, 9.5, I should say. Other than a character, well, they could have done it. You know, killed Brody, and they decided not to.
You mean Rhodey?
Brody. Why do I keep calling him Brody? Who gives a shit? Fucking Iron Man 2. I think they could have killed him off, and it would have been it would have had a little more impact. But God knows they're going to kill a lot of, characters in Infinity Gauntlet, or I'm sorry, Infinity War.
Yeah. For me personally, I give this I would say an A- or an A. It's not quite perfect. An A+, I would think, for me would be perfect. But it comes pretty darn close. I really do think this is the best movie that Marvel has produced, and I would probably even dare say that even if you include everything Marvel's done, the X-Men movies and all their pre-MCU movies, I would probably still say this is the best one.
It's up there with Winter Soldier as one of my favorites. So it takes a lot, man, because it's got everything. It's got good action. It's got awesome, development. They don't fuck around.
Character development.
They don't fuck around. Everything happened for a reason. It's not, and nothing wastes time. Mm-hmm. And they're moving at a certain pace, and it's not too slow, but they're not giving away too much at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to seeing if they can top it. I don't think anything short of Infinity War is going to top it. As good as I think Doctor Strange will be, I still think, the next contender to top it will be Infinity War.
Well, then Doctor Strange is probably going to be more of a science fiction, psychological thriller.
I think it'll be more of a fantasy.
Yeah, there you go. It's not going to be as action-oriented as this movie.
Yeah, well, we've got 6 months to find out. All right, thanks very much for joining us and for being patient with us getting this video done. So, this is Nate and Sergio signing off.
Peace!
Let's stand over here just so I can see how that looks. So it'll just be like that, so like we're talking. Batman, Batman, Batman. Batman, Batman, Batman. Batman, 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 Batman.